Hi, I'm not sure how you've reached this page or how you've come across this video. What I want to challenge you right from the beginning is to ask yourself this question: why is your business not doing what you need it to do? Why is it not bringing in the cash that you believe you are owed for a great product or service that you provide? If you have a great product or service, if you know what you're doing, if you know how you to bring value to people, then why aren't you making money at it? And really, that's the question I'm going to be answering today. I'm going to be talking about sales, and really, whenever I say sales, what I mean is influence. To me, sales and influence are interchangeable. And so when I talk about sales, what I mean is, how do you influence somebody's thinking? And this is my job. I mean, I'm a coach. I'm an executive coach. So my job is to influence people, to help them change their thinking in certain ways in order for them to get what they want out of life. That's what I believe my job is. So in that way, is that not what good sales are? Sales are a way to understand somebody well enough that you understand what they desire and what was going to lead to their goals. And then you help them get there and you receive something in return. That's what sales are. And this works in every area of life. So I'm going to jump into this. I don't want to take too much time. I can preach on about this forever. In my opinion, the vast majority of people who practice sales are awful at it, because they're manipulators and they use manipulation techniques. And that does not promote business long term. It's a great way to build a bit of business, but by manipulating others, you don't create deep relationship. You don't create a strong customer base. You actually just kind of abuse somebody for a short period of time. Maybe you get money from it, but then you're not able to monetize it anymore after that. And for me, in my business, I mean, if you're looking to grow a business for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, make it something bigger than just yourself, then you're going to have to grow a strong customer base. So let's jump right into it. First of all, and I'm just going to touch on these really quickly, I want you to ask yourself, which of the following beliefs do you struggle with? Because I find that these beliefs are, at least with my clients and in my experience, these are the beliefs that get in the way of people selling more of their product or service. Okay, the first is sales. So a lot of people have a paradigm, an understanding, a belief about sales that is evil on some level. Maybe you've had an experience where somebody sold your parents a vacuum that they didn't need or something like that, and you hold it against somebody. Maybe you've had a lot of people with network marketing kind of push themselves on you, or whatever, car salesmen. We have these paradigms of sleazy salespeople. Having said that, I know car sales people that are fantastic at what they do and that really listen to people. I know people in multi-level marketing companies that are fantastic at what they do. It's not based on the profession, although we associate it a lot of the time. But I want to ask yourself, with all of these beliefs, starting with sales, is how did you get these beliefs? What are your experiences with sales? When have you been sold? When you've tried to sell something, what has your experience been? Because we attach emotions to experiences, and that leads to beliefs that, oh, this is not a good thing. So if you've been manipulated in sales and you've been taught to manipulate others, of course you're not going to feel good about sales. Of course you're not going to feel comfortable about sales. You need to work on those beliefs. Secondly, money. Again, a lot of people have this really weird relationship with money, and I actually came across a program. I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV at all. We don't even have a TV in our home, but I was watching something, I don't even remember where, and a commercial came on. I think I was watching hockey at someone's house. Anyway, a commercial came on, and what this was doing is promoting a show about money, and it showed money and people who had money, wealthy people, as like these sleazy, disgusting creatures that just prey on others. And so much of the time, that's what our society teaches about money. And so when we have ideas like filthy money or filthy rich and all these phrases, does money grow on trees? We start getting these weird understandings of what money is about. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Some people really struggle with the idea of how hard they need to work. Now, this is my belief. On one end of the continuum, there are people who believe that they just need to work and slave away at things and work 24 hours a day. And that's not accurate. That's not what you need to do to build a successful business. On the other hand, we've got people who go, oh, well, I just need to dream it up in my head, and I don't need to spend any time or energy on it. I just need to dream it, and it'll appear before me. And I go, you know what? Neither of those is true. We do need to work, and we can be smart about how we work. But ask yourself, which end of the continuum are you there? Next is, so many people have hangups with relationships and influence and communication, and we've got different experiences in our life, again, that influence us in this way. You don't have to manipulate somebody to get them to do what you want to do. I hear all the time from parents, well, I just need, bribery is a really important skill for parents. And I go, no, it's not. I mean, people use it that way, but that's manipulative. You can have a fantastic relationship with your kids without manipulating them, where they get to reach their goals and you get to reach your goals, where you both do well. You don't need to manipulate. But we've got these ideas in our heads of that, or my partner or my spouse or whatever, that I've got to trick them somehow to get what I want. That's not true. So maybe you struggle with that. Maybe you struggle with your own value. This is actually the number one belief that I run into when I'm speaking about sales with people, where people struggle, is they don't believe in their own value. They simply struggle with confidence. Now, if you struggle with confidence, I've got courses on confidence. You try to find a book on confidence and you won't find it. It's extremely difficult to find people teaching you how to build confidence. And yet it's this essential skill that we need every day in life. So if you're struggling with confidence, maybe reach out to me or something like that. Work on confidence every day. That's maybe the number one thing you can do to actually believe in yourself and start doing better in any realm. Okay, and it's actually not a very difficult thing to obtain. It takes work, it does take time and energy, but it's not all ridiculously difficult. Next is what is possible. A lot of people simply don't understand what is possible. I remember the first time I sold a $3,500 program, and I was thinking to myself, well, like, who would pay $3,500 for little old me? Even though I was spending $10, $20, $30, $40,000 on other people's programs, and I went, hey, this is fantastic value. Sometimes I struggled about, again, my own value and what is possible. Is it possible that other people will pay me for my products or services? Are they valuable enough? Is it possible to build a business this way? Next, a lot of it, and this is a belief that's not typically associated with sales, but the difficulty in hiring. Guess what? Hiring is a sales process. Remember I said that sales equals influence. Influence equals sales. They in my opinion, they go directly together. Not sales equals manipulation. Sales equals influence. And if you want to influence others through the ads that you put up for hiring, and then the people that you hire, or the people that you interview for the hiring process and for an employment position with you, or whatever it is, you are influencing those people constantly. And because we struggle with influence, we struggle with business. So really that's what this webinar is all about, this video for you right now, okay? So let's talk about influence versus manipulation. I've talked about this a lot right away, or already, and I want to fill this out a little bit more, and I don't want to take too much of your time, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. But influence is always good for the other person. The focus is on the other person, whereas with manipulation, it's good for me. Think about this. Think about now those situations, those experiences that you've had with people where you didn't feel really comfortable. Maybe it was, again, that used car salesperson, or whatever it was, okay? Again, I'm not trying to pick on one profession here, or one industry, because terrible sales is everywhere I look. I actually just had a terrible sales experience within the last 5 days. Someone trying to sell something to me, and I went, you're not listening to anything I say. You're just trying to push one product on me over and over and over again. And I felt manipulated because this wasn't a fit for me. It was a fit for them. For me to pay them money. That was the fit. And that's manipulation. That's not good sales. Okay, it's not good influence. Something that fits their goals is influence. Something that fits somebody else's goals. If it fits my goals, that's now manipulation. If the focus, again, is on fitting my goals. With influence, if I fail, that's okay. If I'm on a sales call, I often on a sales call, on an influence call, when somebody calls me and is asking about my coaching services, I will often tell them, this is not a good fit for you. Or if they say, Mark, you know what, this is not a good fit for me. It doesn't work for me right now. Even if I believe it is, if I've failed at influencing them and going, this is where I see it working, and I'd love for you to see how it works for you, to your own goals and your own benefit. If I fail, that's okay, because somebody else can make decisions in this relationship. However, if I fail and I'm manipulating people, I start to get upset. Now think about family situations. Think about influence. Times where somebody tried to influence you and you didn't do what they wanted. Did they get upset with you? then they're all about manipulation, not about influence. And think about yourself when you've been upset. If you've come across a client and out of that client call or interview or meeting with somebody, you've gone, I'm so angry that that stupid person didn't make the right decision. Well, guess what? You're thinking about yourself, not about the other person, all right? Influencers respectfully listen, whereas manipulators push their agenda. Have you ever had a salesperson talk to you? And again, think about yourself here. Don't just simply think about everyone else. Think about yourself. I'll use you as an example. Have you ever been in a situation where you don't even ask somebody questions? You just basically, they say, tell me a little about your product. And you just list all this crap from your product or service that doesn't make a difference for them. You're simply pushing your agenda. You're not respectfully listening. How do you know whether it fits somebody's goals if you're not listening to them? And I don't care whether it's an iPhone cover or whether you're selling a $80,000 coaching program or whether you're selling a vehicle or a house, or it doesn't matter. Whether you're influencing somebody to eat their broccoli or go to sleep at the right time. Are you respectfully listening to understand somebody else's goals? Because if you're not, you're only manipulating. It's simply going to fit you, make you feel comfortable, okay? With influence, the other person, we have to admit, with influence, somebody else might know best. Now listen, my background's psychology. I get to know people fairly well in a short period of time. Okay? People go, it is uncanny how well you get to know me, how quickly you get to know me. Having said that, I consistently have to admit, I might not know best. And that humility allows me to ask more questions, to get to know the other person, to ask, maybe there's something I'm missing. Because they might know themselves better than me right now. They might have something that I don't know, and that might be useful. When they say no or yes or I'm not sure yet, there's more for me to uncover. That helps me go into sales with a mindset and influence with a mindset of curiosity. Again, I'm going to use these interchangeably, influence and sales. Whereas with manipulation, I definitely know what's best for you. You must do this or I'm going to be angry, right? I'm going to be upset because I'm failing at something. Think about this a little bit. And what I want to challenge you to do is think about sales. This is really helpful if you start thinking about sales as influence. When you start thinking of sales and influence interchangeably as the same thing, you are going to start being able to sell your partner on something. You're going to be able to sell on the next movie you go to or the next vacation you go on. You're going to be able to sell your kids or influence your kids on even what school to go to or when to go to bed or eat certain foods to be healthy, exercise, whatever it is. Why? Because influence is beautiful. The skills of influence are the skills of helping somebody else get to their goals with your help. That is a super high calling. That is beautiful if you can be that person in other people's lives. And I've had to learn this the hard way because I got into psychology and then coaching and found that every once in a while I was getting frustrated with other people, that they weren't doing what I knew was best for them. And as I learned more humility, I became a far better salesperson. I influenced people far more. And that's my job, right? My job is to influence people, is to learn what they need, learn what's going to help them, and then help them adopt ideas and patterns and routines and ways to think and actions to take that are going to help them get to their goals. That's what I believe my job is as coach. So here's the challenge, what I'm going to offer right now. I'm going to ask, are you a salesperson? And if the answer is no, I'm not a salesperson, then you haven't understood what I've said at all yet. Because if you are a human being, you are a salesperson. Let me say that again. If you are a human being, you are a salesperson. When I was a baby, I sold my parents on taking care of me when I had pooped my pants or needed to eat something or needed to sleep or was hurting or whatever by screaming at the top of my lungs. That was my method at that time, okay? I was a salesperson when I tried to ask for my wife's hand in marriage. I'm a salesperson every day in my life if I'm a human being because I'm always trying to influence somebody for some reason. Now, when I was a baby, I was a master manipulator because I wasn't thinking about anyone else. I was thinking about myself and my own needs. But as I've grown in maturity, I hope that I'm becoming more and more, I know I'm becoming better all the time with influence. And as I become better with influence, my business goes up, my relationships get better, everything gets better. So the question is not whether you're a salesperson or not, an influencer or not. The question is, are you good at it or not? Because most people are terrible influencers. Most people are terrible salespeople. So let's get into this a little bit more. Most people, when they think about money, when they think about sales, they have this image in their head of this arrogance where somebody's just like throwing money at you because they've just got so much to spend on anything they want that it means nothing to them. And that's so destructive to our understanding of sales. This was actually, as I was searching the internet looking for an image to use for this presentation, this was almost the least aggressive picture I could find of money. So much of the time, money, and I found one with kind of a cup with kind of a plant growing out of it with money attached to it, but usually in our culture, we've got really negative connotations, really negative images that come to us when we think about money and sales. This is how I think about money. This is how I think about sales and influence. Sales or influence is a tool. Now, just like this Leatherman in front of me, this tool could be used to kill somebody. If you take out the knife and start stabbing people, it's going to be a tool used for killing. If you take out the pliers and, I don't know, so I'll use an example for myself. So I love backcountry camping. I love backcountry camping. So I go out with my kids. We spend a few days out in backcountry where no one can find us. And what I do is I've got a Leatherman with me, and I have honed the blade on my Leatherman to razor sharp edge. I can shave the hair on my face or my arms very easily with it, okay? It's sharper than most of the razors I've used in the past. And the reason I've done this, and I use it for nothing, out in the backcountry, never carving, never as any tool other than first aid. And my wife has used it with first aid on me as I've needed it. Because when I need first aid, I want the sharpest knife possible. So I don't use that knife for anything else. I use other knives for carving or other things that we need to do with the knives. And I keep that Leatherman knife, razor sharp edge, for needed emergency situations, because then it's there and I can use it. And in that situation, it could save a life. So this Leatherman could kill somebody or it could save their life. Let me ask you this. Is the Leatherman good or bad? Is the tool evil or wonderful? Well, that's a ridiculous question, is it not? I mean, it's a Leatherman. It's a tool. It can't be good or bad. You can use it for health or for life-saving purposes or for killing purposes, but it's simply a tool. Same thing. So I've got my water bottle here. And I could use, this is a fairly heavy water bottle, okay? It's got 40 ounces, okay? This water bottle's 40 ounces, almost 1,200 milliliters. And if I fill this with water and I go to the desert and I find people that are just about to die and give them this water, this can save people's lives. If I fill this with water and I go around and just hammer people over the head with it, I could kill them. Is the tool evil? No. So one thing that I want to challenge you with is you need to think about money and sales in a different way. Money and sales are tools. Money doesn't have a lot of power on its own. It's simply a tool. If you use that tool for good, or if you use it for evil, then that's about me. Now, again, coming back to this Leatherman, the idea with this Leatherman, the reason I use this is that you can use this tool in so many amazing ways if you have the skill to use it. My brother's a finishing carpenter, and if he knows how to use all these tools in amazing ways. I'm an idiot when it comes to carpentry. I have a hard time making anything that looks half decent. I try sometimes, but it's awful all the time. And that's not because the tools have a problem. The problem is with me and my skill set. So again, the challenge here is not that a tool is good or evil. It's not that a tool is helpful or not helpful. The question always needs to be asked is, where's my skill set? If I have a skill set and the right attitude to use a tool, like a Leatherman knife, in an emergency situation, well, then it can be a brilliant thing. But I need to work on myself. So in the same way, with sales and influence and money, we need to work on ourselves. We need to improve our abilities. And as we improve our abilities, we start becoming better salespeople. We start to become better influencers, far more influential. What we need to understand with sales is that it's all about finding a solution. Again, not my solution. It's about finding a solution to the problems we see around us. And this is basic good business, is it not? If we see problems around us and we look for a solution that fits those problems, not that fits us, but fits those problems well, we create a fantastic business. we have at least the ability to create a fantastic business. My guess is that, again, you probably have a product or service that does solve problems right now. The question is, how are you now influence people with this? So we'll talk about business quickly, because I talk about the advantages of business and how it's about problem solving. But until I read a book a long time ago now, probably 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that really changed my understanding of business. And up till that time, I was struggling with business in many ways. And it was because I had this mindset that business owners are people that hurt people for money. And this completely changed my understanding of business. And as it changed my understanding of business, my ability to make more at business, to have more money and create more wealth from it, went through the roof. Okay, so number one, you support the economy. Having a small business is one of the most patriotic things we can do. If we care about our communities and our countries, whether it's city, province, state, country, whatever it is, the ability to create more money in the economy and give people jobs in the economy, and I'll talk about this more, that is fantastic. This is what supports our economies. This is what supports our communities. And this is a high calling, okay? Secondly, we provide jobs for people. I just mentioned this, but we think about this. When you are a business owner and you hire somebody, you are putting food on the table of an entire family sometimes. That to me is an amazing gift, that we can have the ability to utilize these tools to help people in such a tangible way, to put food on the table of people who need it. Thirdly, you can make a ton and then give it away. This is my personal opinion. I'm not trashing the government here. My personal opinion is that the government doesn't know how to best help people. And then that's not saying anything bad about them. I just don't think that lawyers and politicians or economists are the best at helping our society. Whereas for me, think of it, my background, psychology, and I've worked in homeless shelters, and I've lived overseas and with different cultures, and so I've put all this experience together in a business. And when I give money to a cause, I'm thinking about far more factors. What's going to actually help people? Not what is a bandage approach that works for a week or a year, but what sincerely solves problems long term. And business people think this way. I think business people should be the ones that run the charities, not people that are well-meaning. I'm not trashing charities either, but I've worked for charities before where people are well-meaning, but they don't really know what they're doing, and because they don't understand business and money, they actually have charities that fall apart quite quickly. That's not what I want. I want to run things consistently not a profitable necessarily, because it's not what a charity is for, but in an efficient way, a pragmatic way that is logical and makes sense and really does help people long term. You can change your family tree. When you grow in your business, you can change your family tree. I come from a family of people that were very skilled in many ways, but don't have wealth because of it. They made money at different times, but they didn't utilize that money in really profitable ways most of the time. So you look at my family tree, we've got a lot of people there that are highly skilled in many ways. Some are professionals, some have degrees, some don't degrees, some are tradespeople, some are whatever, but they've always struggled with money. And what I can do in creating a business is I can change my family tree and teach my kids how to be different so that they can grow in their understanding of this tool. Next, I can learn and teach. This is, again, a huge gift. Now, again, I'm a coach, so this is what I care about. I care about helping others. I care about teaching others. But as I learn and grow, I can teach my kids. I can teach my community. I can run courses that help people learn far more about business and money and investing and all of these things, okay? Sales. I gain far more influence. I'm going to tell you a really quick story. I've got a relative, this is a distant relative, who has created a significant amount of wealth in their life. I don't know them extremely well. We don't get together all the time, but I called this person up for coffee. As I was thinking about business, I wanted to learn from this individual. And so before I took them out for coffee, I just did a quick internet search to learn a little bit more about them. And here's what I discovered. This is where I found this person's name over and over and over. They come from kind of a smaller town. Their name came up over and over and over in the town hall meeting minutes. This is what I take from that. What I've taken from that is that because they are wealthy, every time the town makes big decisions, they consult this wealthy person. Now, do they do this because they're just this brilliant human being that knows everything about everything and everything about the town? No. Now, I'm not taking away from this relative. They're really kind, sincere, good human being. And they know about business. And they know about money. But the reason they consult this person is not because they know everything about everything or they have all this great wisdom. They do have wisdom, but it's not because they have all this great wisdom. The reason they consult them is because they have money. And if you look at our culture, we ask people's opinions that are wealthy or have a significant amount of influence in another way. Maybe they've played a sport. Maybe they're an actor, an actress. Maybe they're whatever, okay? People who are popular, who are famous, or who have money typically are more influential. I mean, why do we care what Warren Buffett thinks or Bill Gates thinks or whatever? It's not necessarily because they're the wisest human being on the planet. Again, I'm not degrading them. What I'm saying is that when you have wealth, when you do well in business, you have more influence. And this is a good thing again. If you've created this, then you've got a better sense of how to run things. And I asked this person, because I had money paradigms at the time, many paradigms and problems in my thinking. And I asked this individual, this fairly wealthy relative, I've noticed that as I get to know wealthy people, I find that a large percentage of them are really good quality people. And I said, what's going on here? Is this accurate? What's going on here? Because I learned as a kid that wealthy people are evil, basically. You might find a good one here and there, but they're basically evil. And he said, Mark, that's absolutely true. I rub shoulders with wealthy people all the time. And he said, the vast majority of them are really good human beings. And I said, why is that? Wait, like why? I learned that when you get rich, you become bad. And he said, well, the opposite is true. He said, Mark, there are people that are not very good human beings that have a lot of money. And we can think of examples right away that come to mind. But, because this is what the papers try to follow. But generally speaking, in order to build wealth, you need to create a company. In order to create a company, you need to hire people and manage people and influence people. And you need to bring teams together and lead them in really unique ways and take care of them for a long period of time. And those people who know how to create wealth and keep wealth typically need a really unique skill set that they've developed over time. And they become really fantastic human beings. I thought that was really interesting. It stuck with me since then. Okay, anyway, support families again. So I've got this next image here of this wheelbarrow. And I don't love doing yard work. I'll do it, but I don't enjoy it. I did landscaping for years when I was putting myself through university. And I don't enjoy doing yard work. My wife loves it. I know so many people that can make hundreds of dollars an hour through their business. And instead, they are doing something that they don't enjoy. Maybe it's cooking food, or maybe it's cleaning, fixing their own machines in their house, or whatever it is. Why, if you can make hundreds of dollars an hour with your own business, why would you not pay somebody else to take care of that stuff and make more money in that time, or spend time with your family, or do whatever? Have the freedom to invest in yourself. Why would I do something that I can pay somebody else to do, maybe $50 an hour or $100 an hour? Why would I not pay them to do it? Why would I do it myself and cheat myself out of hundreds of dollars and do something that I don't necessarily enjoy? And I'm also stealing now from that person. I'm not helping that person. Again, I can provide for that person and their family in so many unique ways. So I love the idea of hiring people to do other things in my life because I'm helping them and I solve my own goals far faster too. Far, far faster. I hope that makes sense. So what is some concrete help? I've talked about some basic ideas, but what is some concrete help for influence in sales? Let's talk about this. How do we get others to accept our ideas? And this comes across a little bit harsh. How do we get others to accept our ideas? But really, that's in many ways what influence is. Now, again, the difference between influence and manipulation is influence focuses on the other person and their problems and gets them to accept our ideas potentially on those problems, whereas manipulators are forcing their ideas on somebody without regard to their own needs or desires, right? Let's talk about sales for a bit. Sales to me is the ultimate skill that has the biggest value in life. Think about any leader. Think about anyone who and that could be a leader that has like led a country or a dynasty or an empire. That could also be a leader in a company. That could be a leader that has simply written books and influenced people, or poetry or music or whatever it is. They're all different types of leaders. In order to understand how to lead and influence, we need to learn to listen. So to me, when I think about sales and influence, I think about listening. That's the first thing I think about all the time. Are we listening well enough? When we listen well enough, everything changes. So let's talk about, again, some practical tips and examples. One, be focused on your script. If you don't have a sales script, I've got to be careful what I say here. If you are not fantastic at sales already, and you don't have a script, then you are not learning what you need to learn. What a sales script does is it doesn't have so many people have this idea that it's this form that we just force on somebody. That's not true. What a script does is gives us a basic paradigm or a basic idea of questions to ask so that we can get to the root of what somebody is struggling with or what they need in some way. So have a script. And then be focused on your script. You can change your script. If it's not working, if it's not really meeting somebody's needs, change it. But have a script. It keeps us focused. Secondly, remember, sales is a high calling. For somebody to give you the time and energy to listen to them and then influence them, that's a high calling. We can choose to be a time waster and a money waster, or we can choose to legitimately help somebody. To me, that's a high calling. Thirdly, we can create true win-wins. So again, so much of when I've talked about influence versus manipulation, I talk about focusing on the other person. Guess what? With influence, it's not only about the other person. We also get something out of it. And we need to understand how to feel comfortable with receiving as well. Again, I came back to that first $3,500 program that I sold and how uncomfortable I was at the time. And that's because I wasn't comfortable receiving. And I hear this a lot. I remember one of my coaches and mentors at the beginning said, Mark, the first time I sold something as a coach, I told somebody about it. I listened to them well. I told them what I could help with specifically, and they handed me their credit card. And you know what I did? I handed it back to them and said, no, we'll take care of that later, because they were so uncomfortable with receiving. Listen, if you do have a good product or service, be okay with receiving. If you're not, you are not going to create win-wins. Okay, it's going to be something that burns you out, and then you're going to be bitter with patients or clients or customers or whoever it is. Okay, here's a really big tip: do not focus on the close. So much of the sales training that I come across is manipulative, and it's all about closes. It's all about when somebody's ready to buy, then you manipulate them psychologically to buy from you, and I don't agree with this. I believe that if we've done our job throughout the sales process, somebody's excited about buying it already. Or not. If we have not influenced them in that way, then it's too late. We haven't done it the right way. Okay, so what is the sales process? Well, I'll give you a basic rundown of the sales process. I've gone through months and months of training, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of training from people, from books, from audio programs. And I've listened to hundreds and hundreds of teachers on this. And literally, I've listened to tons of stuff. And what I've done is I've created my own processes, but when it really comes down to it, all sales processes are basically the same. There's some kind of introduction where we introduce the problem or we introduce what's going on. When I have a sales call with somebody, I am completely upfront and honest with somebody right from the beginning. This is how I start. When somebody is interested in my coaching, you will hear me on the phone. If you're interested in my coaching, you will hear this, okay? I will say to the person, hey, great to meet with you today. Thank you for your time. I want to do 3 things in this call. I'm going to be asking you some questions about kind of what you want to achieve, what your goals are. I'm going to be asking you about what's getting in the way, and I'm going to try to help you through that process. I'm going to try to give you some ideas based on your goals and based on what you desire and need that I believe will help you. Now, if the answer to that is I've got something that can help you, I'll tell you about that. If I've got a product or service, I'll tell you about that. But I'm also very comfortable if it's not me that can help, if it's somebody else, I'll point you in the right direction. If it's a book or a program or whatever else, what I want is to help you today. Are you okay with that? That is honestly what I believe. I honestly turn people away all the time from coaching if it's not a good fit. If it is good fit, then I will tell them about my program. But I'm completely upfront and honest with people. I'm not tricking them. This is not a bait and switch. I'm not like, oh, I just want to really help you and buy my program. At the end, that's not what we're doing, okay? Secondly, we need to make sure that we are gathering enough information. Now, the introduction, usually I spend just a few seconds on the introduction. I ask somebody, is this okay? If they give me the okay, I get into it. If they have a problem, they say, hey, Mark, I don't want to buy anything today. I go, well, first of all, why are we on this call? If I understood that it was a sales call and you understood there was something else, there's a problem in communication. So let's figure that out. So I still go into information gathering, okay? But I gather information. What's going on? What are your needs? What are your desires? What's going on here? How can I help in some way, shape, or form? Now, we also then need to ask other types of questions. So the information gathering, we ask open-ended questions, okay? Open-ended questions where people can go different directions and lead us in a way that is not completely controlled by us. With challenging through questions, this is a different type of questions. Once we start to get a good picture of where somebody's at, we can start to challenge them through questions. So why haven't you tried this? Or why aren't you doing this to help yourself? Or whatever it is. And what that does is it challenges somebody to give us more information, but it will also start to challenge their behavior, where they start to ask, wait a second, maybe I don't know how to get what I need. Which is excellent, because if they don't know how to get what they need and you've got a solution, then they're going to be more open to listening to your solution, okay? Always ask for the sale, or have something, it's called a test close. Now remember, I said closes are not what you depend on. What the test close is for me is it's simply checking whether we're on the same playing field, whether we're communicating well. So in every sales call I have, I'll say, how is this sounding to you? What are you thinking? Does this sound like something you get excited about? My solution to this problem that you're presenting, do I have a good handle on this? And if somebody goes, I know that I haven't listened well enough. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back and gather more information. I'm going to ask more questions, because obviously I don't understand something right now. I'm missing something. Now I also cover objections. Now again, typically I try to cover objections as close to the beginning to the call as possible. Some people are so afraid of objections because they believe that somehow if I don't cover the objections, that people won't bring up scary things that I don't want to talk about. For me, I go, let's talk about this at the beginning. If there's an objection in somebody's head, like, is this going to be too much money? Or I don't know if this is going to fit me. If we don't handle those near the beginning, then that taints everything that they're thinking about throughout the process. Whereas when I get those out of the way very close to the beginning, well, then they can be free to actually think about what we're talking about. We can engage on a different level. I hope that makes sense. Here's another thing that I want to talk about with objections, and you'll hear this from every decent sales coach or professional. Objections are gifts. If you don't know the objections, and if you haven't covered the objections, then you're not really helping somebody, because every single person has some emotional attachment to something, some belief that's getting in their way, or they wouldn't be talking to you. So as you help somebody and understand their objections, now you can help them far better. I'll give a really quick example of my daughter. So we were planning on going to France for a year. My daughter said to me one day, Dad, I'm not excited about going to France. Now, I didn't say, you're going to France or else, young lady. That's manipulation again, right? Or if you go to France, I'll give you a new pony. That's again, manipulation, okay? Bribery. What I did do was ask her, tell me more. What's going on? So I started with information gathering, right? Help me understand. And she told me a few things, and I asked about some objections, and I found that there was this emotional thing going on with her. She said, we're going to be away for so long. I said, okay, yeah. So what's the problem with being away for so long? And she said, Dad, we're not going to see our cousins very much when we go. And I went, okay. So it's not about France. This has nothing to do with France. This has to do with my daughter not feeling comfortable being away from family. She loves family. So I said, well, what's the problem with not being around or close to them? Because we actually don't see them all the time right now. She doesn't see her cousins every day or anything. So I said, what's the problem with being away from family? She said, Dad, it's going to feel so alone, and I simply want to feel connected with them. I said, that makes sense. It makes sense that she wants to be connected to the people she cares about most. So then we worked through that. I said, well, what if so think about the sales process here. We had the information gathering, and I asked some questions to challenge her or understand more. And then when as I presented an idea, we covered the objections, I presented an idea, and I did the test close. So this is what I said. I said, remember, sales and influence are the same thing, okay? You're either good at them or bad at them. They're the same thing, though. So I asked my daughter, Jay, if we were able to maybe invite cousins over, and they spend some time with us in France, and maybe halfway through the year we go back, maybe Christmas or whatever it is, we spend some time back near them and go and visit them. It would be more intense time, because we'd actually right now we go for an evening or we spend a few hours with people. If we invite them over for 2 or 3 weeks, we get to spend some significant time with those people. We'd actually spend more time doing that, and it'd be more focused time than what we get typically at home. What are your thoughts on that? So that's the test close. What are your thoughts on that? I'm testing. Am I understanding things correctly? Is this a solution that would work? And right away, I saw the kind of the what are they called? Obviously, I'm losing words here, but the cogs turning in her head. I heard the wheels turning, and I saw her go, yeah, actually, that would be fantastic, Dad. And I said, okay, so how are you feeling about France right now? And she said, and I went, okay, so again, that was another test close to see how she's feeling. I could tell that there was something else there. There was another objection. So we talked about it, and we've uncovered that we've got a local theme park with rides in our hometown, in our city, and she was going to miss that, which again is not about the theme park. It's about an emotional thing under that. So we uncovered that it was about spending quality time with me, because I always take them to this theme park in the summer, and we have a really good time. So as we uncovered that, I said, okay, well, how about this? And I took her over to the computer, and I brought up pictures of the Paris Disneyland, the Disneyland in Paris, and showed her pictures of it and said, what do you think of this? And she goes, what is that? I said, that's Disneyland Paris. And she went, wow, that's amazing. And I said, what if we go to France, if you're okay with it, and we go to France and we end up going to this Disneyland, what if we bought year-long passes? Because France doesn't get as cold as Canada. So what if we bought year-long passes? How would you feel about that? And her eyes lit up, and I said, how are you feeling about France? Test close again, right? And her eyes lit up, and she said, Dad, I'm really excited about France right now. Can I help with the yearly passes out of my allowance and out of the money I've made from my businesses? She's had a few businesses herself. And I said, yeah, let's do that together. So all of a sudden, as we uncovered all those objections, without manipulating her, I said, hey, listen, like this works for us. I think it works for you. Am I hearing you correctly? I tested that a few times, and she was overwhelmingly, yes, this is exciting for me. So I said, I had a call to action. And in any sales process, in any influential situation, we need to challenge people to take action. As a coach, I'm constantly saying, okay, so do I understand the problem correctly? This is what's going on. We're going to try this. So does this sound right? And they go, yes. And I go, okay, so what are you going to do about it? I always ask that. So what are you going to do about this? How are you going to implement these things? And with a sale for money, you're saying, okay, so are you better paying with a credit card or with an e-transfer, or I don't know how you run your business, okay? So you can run it in all these different ways. Or do you have a check available? But you're asking for the sale. You have this call to action. Every sales process needs that. You can't try to influence somebody without challenging them to take action. That's just something we need to do. I hope this makes sense to you. Again, I wish this was a live webinar, because I'd be asking questions and getting questions from you. Often I've presented this to groups of people, of professionals. They ask a ton of questions. I'm trying to cover a lot of them right here. Know that with sales, emotions are key. With influence, emotions are key. I talked about with my daughter about how she had this objection, but then we got under it and said, like, what's behind this objection? She was feeling alone or disconnected with me or whatever it was. That was what was influencing her most. And when we covered those problems, the sale became easy. So you need to ask consistently, what are they afraid of? Now, I mentioned iPhone covers. iPhone covers, you're spending what, $20, $30, whatever it is. That's an expensive iPhone cover or whatever. That's not... Some people go, well, why would emotions be important for that? Something that costs $5 or $10 or $15. And I go, emotions are important for all decisions. When we understand what's going on for somebody, we are able to meet their needs far better. So ask what people are afraid of. If they're afraid of dropping their phone, or if they're afraid of it slipping off something, we can now give them a product even with an iPhone cover that's going to be far better. If it's a coaching program, or it's a plumbing service, or it's a real estate deal, or whatever it is, it's going to be far bigger, and we need to understand those fears even more. But when we spend time understanding their fears, we can meet their needs. Secondly, we got to ask what their hopes are. And this covers both sides. People make decisions mostly due to what people call negative emotions, fear and disappointment and anger and things like that. But then secondly, they also make decisions based on their hopes and dreams, things that they get excited about. So ask them both sides. Find out, what are somebody's fears? What are the pain points? What are the pleasure points? And then help people make a decision. So again, ask for the sale. Help people make a decision. Check in, do the test close with the influence. You practice this today with your family members. Practice influencing. And as you get better with your family members, you'll get better with anyone. Family members are the toughest sometimes because there's so much more emotion involved. And we don't listen carefully all the time. We assume, okay? Ask some great questions. Let's talk about this a little bit. So what does a great question do? A great question builds trust. Think about this. How often does somebody ask you a great question and then listen to you? And if they're not sure, they ask a deeper question to really understand you. How does that feel? I can tell you for myself, that feels fantastic because not many people in my life, and I think I'm rich with friends. I've got fantastic friends around me. And even me, I don't feel understood all the time. I have clients all the time that don't feel understood because people are not in our society very good at asking questions and listening. So when somebody asks you a question, it builds trust. And when you ask somebody else a great question, it builds trust. Secondly, it challenges them to get to their core stuff. So it uncovers emotion. It uncovers objections. If you've answered all the objections somebody said and they're still not doing what you're trying to influence them to do, whether it's to buy a product from you and give you money or to take a certain action, then you know you're missing something still. And challenges help get to core stuff, deeper things. It focuses on a deeper understanding. But again, it also helps with asking for the sale. The test close as well as asking for the sale. Finding out whether somebody is ready to take action. If they're not, then I haven't done my job. Or I haven't pre-qualified them on some level. That's a whole other story, okay? Now, one thing I need to touch on, and I realize that I've been going on here for a little bit, so I don't want to go super long here, although this is so valuable. I mean, think about this. The sales knowledge that you get from a 5-minute presentation is not going to be something that's super useful to grow from, right? You need a little bit more involvement, and that's why I'm taking some time with this, and taking my time to invest in you right now. But most people's problems with sales are actually not sales. Most people's problems are actually marketing problems. And if you think about it, the sale is when somebody is ready to buy a product from you or somebody else. It's your ability to influence somebody. That's the sale part of it. The marketing part of it is getting them in front of you. Most small businesses that I know of, they're not struggling with sales. I mean, they are struggling with sales actually, but the biggest problem is that they're not struggling with, or they're struggling far more with marketing. So if you think about marketing and sales is this person is in front of me. How influential am I with them? What marketing is getting them in front of me. Think about your own business. If you had 100 people coming to you every day, even if you were a terrible salesperson, some of them would still buy, right? So to me, most people need to focus far more on marketing than sales. Yes, become a good salesperson. Yes, become influential. But that will also help you with marketing, and marketing will help you with sales. Marketing is all about here, I'll talk about it. So this is my quick definition. And I got this definition from somebody else, but I love the definition. Marketing is visibility, credibility, profitability. That's what marketing is. Okay? So it's becoming more visible. It's having more people get to know about who you are. Again, that's through ads, that's through networking, that's through all the different methods you can use to market, social media, whatever it is. Then what you need to do is develop credibility. You need to become trustworthy in that group of people that is seeing you. So people see you and they start to trust you. So the breadth of your image goes out, and then the depth of who you are sinks into people, and that's when you become profitable. If you do a great job marketing, and you could, again, there are not many books written about confidence or videos or learnings about confidence. There's also not a lot of learning about marketing really out there. You see a lot of stuff out there. There's not a lot of really good information on marketing. It is out there, but you've got to dig for it compared to sales. There's lots of stuff on sales. Everyone and their dog has written a book on sales, whereas marketing is kind of this newer field that people are understanding. And again, you can find it. I'll give you, send me an email, inspiration@markfrentz.com, and I will give you ideas. Actually, I'll give you a couple of books to think about, even at the end of this webinar with frequently asked questions I get with this. But what marketing is again, becoming more visible to people, developing trust with those people, and that's when you start to make money. If you've done your job with marketing, sales become really easy. You don't have to close people. They're already sold. Have you ever had a situation where somebody came to you because somebody told them about you? They said, hey, I need this But so I'll talk about myself right now. People have come to me and said, Mark, I need to work with you. And I say, okay, well, how about we have a call and we can discuss? And they go, no, I want to hire you right now. I said, but you don't know anything about me. Like, and they go, no, yeah. I talked to John or Susan or whoever it was, and they said fantastic things about you, and they gave me a great testimonial. So I just want to work with you. Those are fantastic sales to get, because I don't have to work very hard to influence somebody now. I don't have to get to know them as well to sell. Now, my job then becomes more difficult sometimes later on, because I still need to get to know them well in order to help them. And so being responsible is still getting to know them. So typically I say I don't sell my services to anyone until I get to know them a little bit. I need to know that this is going to be a good fit for both of us. And that's the profitability side. But it becomes far easier if we become far more visible and far more credible, far more trustworthy to other people. Now, I'll give you an example of one of my early funnels that I had in my business. What I started with was Facebook ads. Now, Facebook ads are not my favorite. They've never been one of my favorites because I don't love Facebook in general and how it runs its business. But Facebook ads are a way to become more visible. So think about this. Again, visibility, credibility, and then profitability. So I run Facebook ads, and the more Facebook ads I run, the more people go, oh, I'm seeing this Mark guy all over the place. Next, what I need to do is gather information from somebody, because if people know about me, but I don't know that they're interested in my services, I don't have an ability to help them right now. So what an opt-in page, if you don't know what an opt-in page is, look it up. This is the basics when it comes to marketing and sales. Okay, so you start to become more visible. An opt-in page is when I start to build trust with somebody. So I'm saying, hey, listen, I want to help you with a very specific problem, for example, sales or mindset, beliefs, why you know what you need to do but you're not doing it. So I'll have a page where I say these are the ways that I help people, and if that clicks with them and they go, wait a second, that is what I need. They click on that, they give in their first name and their email address, and now we can start a relationship. This is the beginning of a relationship. And that's really what marketing is. It's a relationship with somebody. So now I can send them emails and newsletters and videos and value and help. That's what I'm doing right now. I mean, think about, why am I doing what I'm doing right now? Why am I providing this sales video? Well, I mean, it is to help people. Absolutely it is to help people. But it's also selling myself. If somebody watches this and they go, Mark's an idiot, then they're not going to ever hire me for anything or help my business along, right? But if I provide fantastic value to people and they go, wait a second, Mark's giving this away for free. This was a lot of really good information and it was practical. I can take action on some of these items. Well, then I'm doing my job of selling myself, because people go, wait a second, Mark is more trustworthy. I can trust what he says because he's willing to give this away for free. How much more is he going to give me when I pay him for stuff? How much more value am I going to get? Okay, so once we get to know somebody, once they've come into our funnel, we need to provide value. Once we provide value, then we can have some sales. And the people that come in from an ad at the beginning of a funnel typically are lots. And it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller all the time. Now, I'm going to talk about marketing. I'm just going to throw out another kind of teaser out there. And that is, because we're not going to talk, this isn't the subject for today, and that is with marketing, know your numbers. Know your numbers. If you don't know how many people see your ad, and out of those people click on it, and you don't know how many people, out of the people that click on it, how many people type in their first name and their email address, and if you don't know how many people out of those that do type in their email address actually read your newsletters or watch your videos or get more help from you, and if you don't know how many out of those actually buy something from you, then you don't have a business. You've got like this weird lottery thing that you're gambling with. Know your numbers. Now, I'm a numbers guy, but I've got lots of clients who are not numbers people. They've grown to be because they've realized this is super important for them, okay? Once you've made the sale, then guess what your job is as a business person, as a salesperson, as an influencer. Your job is to bring more value. Always bring more value. In the last few weeks, I've been following up with all my past clients, which I do every once in a while. And I just connect with them and say, hey, listen, how are you doing? I've known you for a bit. Now, I've got a service business where people pay me a decent amount of money to help them in fairly intimate ways. I mean, I learn about people's families and frustrations and big things in their lives. So I check up on them and see how they're doing. And I don't do this to make more money primarily. I do it to help people. But when I do that, I do make more money. It's not simply, I mean, my focus is on them. It's not to sell them something. But often when I do that, I also make more money because people will say, hey, I haven't talked with Mark for a few months, but he's talked with me, and now I'm meeting a friend as we're I don't know, driving to work or something, and they have the same problem as me. I'm gonna refer them over to Mark. So you do make money this way, okay? But when you do this, you now have a business. Know your numbers, for sure. Now, I want to ask you some very specific questions. This is more practical, okay? What is it that you do? What is it that you do? Now, if you said, I'm a plumber, or I'm a real estate agent, or I'm a mortgage broker, or I sell these products, or I sell this service, then you don't really understand the sales system. Remember, sales is what? Sales is influence. So part of a sale is telling what you do in a certain way. So for example, you need to get to the emotions. Understand what is it that motivates people to seek out your services or your product. You need to understand the value of what you bring. And I put sizzle versus steak. This is an old, this is a really great old salesperson said, he's dead now, but he talked about sell the sizzle, not the steak. In other words, if I came to you and I said, which one would you like? And they said, well, tell me about these pieces of meat. And I said, well, this one has 130 calories and is marbled in this certain way, and comes from Japan. And this one comes from Alberta and does these things. Those are facts. And I'm selling the steak, but you know what? No one gets excited about that. When somebody says, tell me about this, and they say, oh, this marbling, when this comes out on the plate and you pick up the smell, because there's a little bit of marbling throughout, and you are going to start, your mouth is going to start watering right now, right away. And then when you cut into this, you're going to be able to pull this apart with your fork. You don't even need a knife for this. That's how tender this is. When you put it into your mouth, you're gonna taste that flavor every single time you bite it. You could chew this 100 times, and you get more and more flavor every time. What is more appealing? When I give the facts of something, or when I describe how somebody's going to feel with it? Get to emotions, get to senses. That's where people see or hear value. They don't hear or see value when you say, you will get a 4% return on your investment every 6 months. We will send you a detailed report. Say, hey, listen, we care about our clients and our customers. So what we do is we want to make sure that on a consistent basis, you are updated with the information you need. And so these are some of the things we offer. But again, where's the emphasis? The emphasis is on the other person, not on the facts, okay? So the sizzle is, hey, what does it mean to somebody? Whereas the steak is facts. And always end something with a question, okay? When I explain, some people call this an elevator pitch. I don't like the idea of an elevator pitch. I don't like having one canned thing that I say to every single person. What I like doing, I hope you've picked this up so far in this video, I like getting to know somebody. So when somebody asks what I do, I often ask them some questions first. If it's on the street, sometimes I'll give them a simple answer. But I mean, if somebody asks what I do, I'll get into a conversation with them. And depending on the answers they give me, I might say different things. Not because I'm going to lie to them, but some people, it's obvious that from where they're coming from, the way I might be able to help them is maybe speak for their organization. I love speaking and doing events like that. So for them, I would say, well, actually, one thing that I do is I love speaking and training at corporate events. That's what I'm going to say, because that meets them. That helps them. If somebody asks or tells me about them, and they realize that they are a small business and they need to work on their marketing, I say, actually, I'm an executive coach that focuses quite a bit on marketing, because it's all about influence. It's about connecting with people. Okay. Often I'll end with a question as I explain what I do. I will end with saying something like, hey, who do you know? Not do you know somebody, but who do you know that this might benefit a little bit, that I could help out a little bit? And you know what? Some people say no. I don't know anyone. But a lot of people say, hey, yeah, actually, I was just talking to Larry and he needs this product or service, or Sally and she needs this product, whatever it is. So asking that question allows somebody to help you if you've been valuable. So again, I typically talk about my emotional states. I say, if somebody just says point blank, what do you do? I say, well, I'm an executive coach. What that is most people know what they need to do to grow their businesses. Like we know how to exercise. We know how to eat better. We know how to lose weight. But how many of us are doing it? And that's the kicker. Most small businesses, they know what they need to do, but they're struggling to do it. And that's how I help people. Well, guess what? I just sold the sizzle. I talked about emotions where people are struggling, not I help people grow their business by 5 to 10% per year or whatever it is, right? I hope that makes sense. Some action steps. Number one, figure out, so I want to be practical. I try to be practical in every video or any kind of stuff that I give somebody, a kind of help I give somebody. So these are practical suggestions here. Figure out what your paradigms are and deal with them. I remember at the beginning of the video, and you can go back and watch this, I talked about 8 different areas where people struggle with their beliefs. Figure out what is getting in the way of you becoming a better salesperson, a better influencer, and start to work on them. Secondly, read some biographies. So much of the time when we've got an idea of what something is and it's negative, we simply need to start reading stories of people who have used this in a really beautiful way. And once we start to understand that, we go, wait a second, this person's made a significant difference, a positive difference in the world. And that starts to influence us in a different way. So if all we've heard is salespeople are evil and business people are evil, then start reading biographies on good salespeople. Women, men, people from various countries, for different times of our history. And what you will start to realize is, wait a second, there are a lot of good people here. And that will start to affect how you think, okay? Next, read some good books on sales. If a book has the word close better, put it on the shelf, put it back on the shelf, okay? Don't be, if anyone tells you you can become a better salesperson in 5 minutes or less by memorizing a couple of things, then they're manipulating you. Because what happens is you want to change in 5 minutes without putting a lot of effort into it, and that appeals to us emotionally, and so somebody will get the sale from you. But you know what? You're not going to get a ton of value from those kinds of books or those kinds of programs. Go to programs and books where you learn to invest in yourself and your own skill set to influence others. Okay? If that's the book, great. Do it. Learn it. Grow in that, okay? So read good books on sales. Take good programs on sales. Next, write out a sales script and record a sale or two. Do what you're doing, whether it's on the phone or in person or whatever, videotape yourself, record yourself, audio, video, figure out how you're doing this. Find out where you're failing at it. Find out what your idiosyncrasies are. Watch people. A lot of people are like, or some people have certain words that they use a lot. I often use the word fantastic quite a bit. If you say that all the time, it starts to lose its meaning. So there is no better way to improve yourself than start watching how you're doing things. And you can do this with practice. You don't even need to be in a real sale. What will happen is you'll start to notice habits that you have and start to change them. Go, wait, I come across this way? Really? I give that look to help somebody? I frown a lot. I don't smile enough. Whatever it is, you'll learn a lot. Lastly, role play. Role play lots with people. The more you role play, if you don't have a great marketing system set up and you're not in sales all the time, then role play with people. Practice with somebody, whether it's a coach, whether it is a colleague, whether it is somebody else doing what you do. Practice this with people. Now, if you've got a really good marketing system, you don't need to role play because you can practice with live people. And you know what? If people don't buy, that's okay. It's a learning process. You're learning and growing all the time. So that's fantastic. Another thing that I haven't put out here, but I always say to my own clients is, after you've done something, after you've tried a sale, spend 5 or 10 minutes after that and just review. What did I do well? What did I do poorly? Did I understand this person? Did I meet their needs? Did I listen to them? Did I cover the objections? Ask yourself these questions and you will learn. Again, this is not easy. If you take the time to do this though, you will become the top 2 to 3% of your profession. If you do this, if you consistently review what you're doing, ask yourself how to get better and then take those steps, you'll become excellent, okay? A few questions that I often get. One question is, how do I convert clients? And what I would say to this is, again, if you are worried about converting people, it usually comes to one of two problems. Either number one, you don't have the right people coming to you in the first place. So that's called qualifying people. If you're trying to sell somebody, and they don't have the money to buy something, or they don't have the time or energy to invest, or they're not interested in your product or service right from the beginning, well, then that's the wrong person. So that's called qualifying people. You should only try to sell people or influence people that are ready for it. Secondly, if they're the right people, you haven't listened to them well enough. Listen, give great advice and help, and you will close people. Not because you're focusing on the close, because you're focusing on helping people, the right people. So that's what I would say to that. Secondly, how can I ask for referrals with integrity? So many people struggle with asking for referrals. Asking for referrals is the easiest thing on the planet. Because if you've done your sales process properly, if you've influenced properly, you've gotten to know somebody. They've learned that they can trust you. They like you. They respect you. And guess what? If you've given them the gift of listening to them for the last 5 minutes, half an hour, or entire weekend, whatever it is, and you ask them, hey, who do you know who I could help with this? They're going to be happy. We live in a reciprocal relationship with others. And when we give something to somebody else, they want to give something back. So if we've helped them, whether they buy or not, they're going to be happy to give us referrals. This is a very easy process. The difficult part is the skill set to listen. The difficult part is the skill set of influencing really well. Next, how to turn followers into customers. This is a very simple thing that I'm going to talk about. If you've got people that are following you, if they're following newsletters and blogs and whatever it is, weekly broadcast emails or social media posts or whatever it is, if you've got followers, the way to turn them into customers is called calls to action, CTA, call to action. Challenge somebody to do something about it. Now, if you have good value that you're bringing to people, people will start taking action on the things you suggest. Now, every call to action is not buy from me now. What you do is say, hey, listen, if you want more information on this, go to this website. This will help you with it. Provide value, but get people into the habit of taking action on what you're suggesting. And sometimes what you're going to say is, hey, listen, for this problem, I'm the best person for this. I can solve these needs better than anyone else. And people will then convert, okay? They'll turn from followers into customers. But the key here is, again, bring value and then always have a call to action. If you're part of my broadcast list or anything that I have a call to action. I did in this video, right? I said, these are action steps. Take these actions. If you're serious about this, take one of these actions and you will grow. You'll become better at it. I always have a call to action with anything, okay? You'll hear another call to action at the end of this video, actually, very short probably. I don't even know what it's going to be yet, but there will be some kind of call to action. Next, pricing psychology. How do I price my product? This is a question that I get all the time. Here's what I would suggest. Forget about pricing for now. Think about how to bring more value. Look at what somebody else has a similar product and what they're charging for it, and use that price and then focus on giving more value than your competitors or other people are bringing. Think about the kind of customers and clients you have, about the kinds of problems they have, and then fix those problems and do it better than other people. Start at the price point other people are charging and then raise it from there because you're bringing more value. Never compete with the cheapest person in the industry. Never compete with the Walmarts. It's an insane thing to do, is compete with the Walmarts, because you're competing for cheap things at the cheapest price, not value. That's not value. Think about the things that you get in Walmart. Typically, they're not things of the greatest value. Okay, bring more value. Focus on value. Forget about pricing for a while. Focus on bringing more value to people, and you won't have a problem with money. Are there words or phrases that can create instant sales? I get this question a lot. I'm going to refer you to a couple of books. There are lots of books on this actually, but one is called Buyology, B-U-Y-ology. Another book is called Influence, and the authors aren't coming to mind right now, but Influence is another book that I would highly recommend. What it does is it helps you understand what is the psychology of selling. What are the ways that we can communicate with somebody where we're going to be more influential? Because there are words, there are phrases that can help us. Again, calls to action. I've been teaching you a lot of the psychology in this, but those books will go into more detail in some of these things, okay? When it comes to influence in those ways. I hope this was helpful. And I promised you I'd have a call to action. So here's going to be my call to action. What I'm going to ask you to do is, if this is helpful for you, what I've found, or what you found in this has been helpful in some way, this is what I want you to do right now. On a piece of paper or on your computer screen or wherever it is, I want you to write down what is the one thing, if you could only take one thing from this video, one helpful piece of advice, one helpful hint or tip or whatever it was. If there was only one thing that you could take action on, what is that one thing? Maybe it's to do one of the action steps, and then go back to the action steps that I mentioned a few minutes ago. You can do one of those. Maybe it is on just learning yourself. Maybe it's on hiring a coach like myself or somebody else. Maybe it is buying a book. Think about one thing that you can do to help yourself. Maybe it's recording your scripts or your sales process. Take that one thing, not 1,000 things, because you're not going to take action on 1,000 things. Take one thing, focus on one thing. And what I want you to do is for the next month, think about this constantly. Every morning, ask yourself, how can I improve myself in this way? Or if it's a book, buy the book and read the book every day for the next month until it's finished, and then read it again and take actions on that book. Maybe it's going to a seminar. Maybe it's hiring a coach or whatever. Maybe if you want to learn more about me, go to my website and learn a little bit about me or whatever it is. But take one action that's going to help you. If you focus on one action, what that does is it simplifies in our minds what we can do now, and you're more likely to take action. If this is simply information for you, it's not going to be helpful. Information does not help anybody. Taking action on the correct information is what helps people. So ask yourself what mattered to you most, and then take one action. Start working towards that one action, and you will improve your business. And when you do, I'd appreciate if you give me some feedback and just say, hey, listen, this was really helpful. This part was really helpful. If you're watching this and you have an ability to write a comment or something, write a comment. Feel free to give me suggestions. Challenge me on things. I'm always open to challenges. I'm always open to learning new things. If something was helpful to you, then write that down. Take one action that's going to help you. Have a fantastic day.